my last point before we can explore other topics interesting for you is something I call micro actions, small actions. That is, what to do in ethics in the technological world. And the answer is small, ordinary things. Well, some of them are impressive. What is called, I'll start with that, literacy and empowerment. But literacy is the main notion. The problem is that being human in the technosphere requires a minimum knowledge and understanding of how technology works. And this is called literacy. Literacy not about the classics or language, but literacy about what is a website, how does a social network work, and why is it important that you give or not some data to a social network or website, things like that. We have to know and understand this, which is called digital literacy. Not only, first there is environmental literacy. The evolution of the technosphere is also an evolution of the ecosphere. You have heard about the famous Anthropocene. We are living in a time where the human, anthropos, is responsible for the shape of the planet, for the fate of the planet, for what happens on the planet. It is the most important force transforming the planet, human activity, that is to say, human technology. So the first literacy needed is environmental literacy. We are no longer in the industrial era. We are now fully responsible, as we know, for the planet, climate, biodiversity. We are piloting. Technology means we are piloting voluntarily the co-evolution through the technosphere. And we must do this with awareness, a sense of responsibility. We are not just living in the ecosphere, we are driving the ecosphere through the technosphere. So the first awareness we need, the first literacy we need to master is environmental literacy. I will say this again later, but environmental literacy is not about theory, it's not about science only. It's about what we eat every day, what's in the plate. There is a saying that the planet is destroyed in the plate with food and other actions such as transportation, buying another device, another phone, for instance. This is a heavy price on the ecosphere, and to be aware of that requires some literacy, not to be naive consumer. It is the first step in ethics, and technology is implied in this. It is because of this extraordinary power in technology that we tend to be naive, so ignorant about the environmental consequences of our ordinary actions. So first, and urgently, environmental literacy. Then, digital literacy. This is sad, and at first I didn't imagine it will evolve this way, but in fact, young generations, the new generations, are not aware of the technicalities implied in the technology they use. It's surprising. In the 1980s and 90s, people using technology had some idea of how it works. Now you don't need that because of the famous simplification I was alluding to. Now, you can use digital, wonderful tools without any digital literacy. Some people does not even know the difference between a Google search and the URL request or things like that. They don't understand anything about how the internet works. They accept every conditions of use because they have no idea what data are used for. This is called black boxes. There's a book on that. You can ask me for references. Black box means you don't know what's inside. You know what kind of video you want to watch on YouTube, but you don't know what YouTube does with your data, and so on. You want to belong to a community on WhatsApp or things like that, but you don't know what is inside the black box and how, why, by whom this powerful service is given to you for free. In fact, it's not for free. It's for very valuable data. But it happens in the black box. And if you don't look in the black box, you don't know. And there is another interesting book called, by an American person, called Weapons of Math Destruction. But it's not mass as mass, M-A-S-S, it's math as in mathematics. She is a mathematician. Weapons of Math Destruction. It means the algorithms, the computation in the black box with the data of the user is a terrible power. It's commercial, but also political. What I said before about everything you can know about someone having a look inside his or her phone. It's even more the case with internet data. Someone who has access, and every secret service, every commercial firm has access to all the data in our computers. We don't realize how precisely. Let me give you just one example. I read a book or a newspaper article in another language than my native language, let's say in English or else. I use a dictionary. Okay. So I look up for a couple of words to improve. I read the paper, and when there is a word, well, I suppose you do that. I do that. When there's a word that I don't know, I look up for it in the dictionary. Word reference, in that case. Okay. But this website, which is free, web reference, identifies me, of course, through my IP address. And you can try this easily with Google. When you have 3, 4, 5, 10 words of an article or a book, you can identify the article or the book. So my internet provider and my dictionary, or anyone accessing this data, can know what are the articles I read in a newspaper every morning, or what are the books that I am currently reading. And more than that, you can even know my standard of English. What kind of words I don't know. How good my English or my German or whatever is. It can be important for Secret Service. It can help you detect someone who is not a natural speaker of the language, is looking for words he shouldn't have to look for. You see how powerful all this is. And Kreuzberg again, it's not necessarily bad, because as you know, software more and more adapt to my, for instance, language level, or to what is interesting for me, to the subjects I like. And you can do this voluntarily, but most of the time on Google News, for instance, it does it by itself. The algorithm does it. Select the news interesting for you. It's good, because, well, I must confess, I don't care at all about sports, any kind of thing, about the weather, about gossips, about Hollywood stars. I don't care at all. I don't want to see about it. So they don't show me. But I care about things some other people do not. Classical music, for instance. So it appears on my Google News feed, and it helps me. Same thing with real newspapers online. So it's not bad. It has a good side. It's just not neutral. That is to say, that's why literacy is required. I must know and understand. Take a common example. If I want information about something I want to keep strictly for myself, I want it to remain a secret. Imagine something sexual, something political, whatever. I will not ask Google on an open channel. If I'm technically able to, that's literacy. I will use a VPN or a better system like Tor, T-O-R, or things like that. I will use a system to hide my data. I don't want Google to know that I've been asking for that. And I can do it if I have the literacy to do it. And that is ethics. That is ethics, and it means at the same time you can have Google as it is, as a for-profit company, looking for money and data. And at the same time, you can have free, independent persons that are not controlled and not manipulated by these corporations or intrusive political powers. So this is what literacy means. It means the effort to reappropriate the affordances, the power, the empowerment given by technology. No black box. On that matter, there is an important distinction that is usually unseen between, it's a classic in the theory of information, distinction between flow and access, or you can say also pull and push. I explain. Differences between what I pull to me, what I look for, and what I take, because I want it, because I am actively looking for it. This is access, an access medium. Internet is normally an access medium. Wikipedia is an access medium. I look for something. And the other side is flow medium. The television is a flow medium. It's a flow. It comes. It is pushed. It's called push medium. It is pushed towards me. As you know, I can change channels, but they are all the same. I skip for one thing to the equivalent on another channel. Then, difference between flow and access. What I want and what I'm looking for, and on the other side, what is pushed to me. Because people want, corporations, political powers, they want me to see that. I don't want to see, read, or know that, but they want. It is pushed to me, like the advertisement, of course. Out of this, the worst effect is what is called the filter bubble. A bubble due to filter. The writer on that is called Elie. Book is in English. Find it easily. You'll find it easily on the internet. Filter bubble phenomenon. It means because I take the computer, but it's the same on the smartphone. Because digital systems analyze what is interesting for the user, what he or she chooses to read or see or listen to. The filters, artificial intelligence filters, not only very primitive ones, are used to deliver in a flow, to push relevant, quotation, information. That is to say, simply, if you read far left-wing political articles only, you will have far left political information only. And you will be trapped in a filter bubble. If you read environmental activism only, or if you read industrial information only, you will be trapped in a bubble where everything pushed to you is in the opinion you already have. And so there's a confirmation bias. You see more and more of what you believe, of what you already think. And it confirms your belief. And you don't see the opposite side, the opposite opinion. It's not pushed to you. And if you let the media become a flow medium, pushing information to you, if people lose the literacy to use access medias, to look for what they want to see or watch or read with sufficient literacy to select it, and for instance, read on both sides, or more than two, of the political spectrum, to look for contradictory information on facts when there is a war somewhere, for instance. Listen, you can read the papers on the two sides of the war. Well, if you do this, and this is literacy, you avoid the filter bubble, but everything is made for the user not to do this. Everything is made to trap people into filter bubbles. On YouTube, you watch something once, and after that, you'll have a lot of propositions of the same stuff. Sometimes it's funny. Maybe you've had this experience because you look for something that's not interesting. I can look for something that's not for me, just to have information. Someone I'm not normally interested in, but someone has asked me, and after that, I receive information on it, as if it were something interesting for me, but it's not, because the filters have detected an interest on that. And for instance, the ads on the websites, well, for a time, I don't know why, I never understood why, some websites were in the idea that I was an old woman. I'm an old man, not an old woman. And I had everything about being an old woman. Well, no use for me. And it was not arbitrary. It was because something has been detected that was wrong. Nowadays it has changed, but it's fascinating to see that once you are in a category, the filters keep you in this category. If it's the wrong one, you detect, you said, well, I have written a dissertation on Nazism, for instance, or communism, but I'm not a communist, so stop feeding me with communist information. I don't care about that. I don't care about politics at all. It was just for college or things like that. You see what I mean? When it's wrong, you detect it's wrong. You say, hey, stop, I'm not a communist. I just written a paper on that. But when it's right, you don't detect it. You think it's the world outside. And you see, oh, the world outside is exactly how I think it is. It fits my values. My values are right. The facts support my values, my choices. But no, they're not the facts. They are what, they are what your lack of digital literacy leads you to believe, because you don't see the black boxes, you don't see the filters, the bubbles. So the real empowerment is never, and this is one step beyond Kranzberg, real empowerment never means naive or, let's say, stupid use of the extraordinary power of artifacts. This is not empowerment. Empowerment requires some ethics, some literacy, taking in charge your own self-building. This is no news. This has always been ethics, before any technology. The people you talk to, the masters you listen to, the groups, the human communities you join, they decide the self you become. If you spend your time with the bad guys, or in a sect, things like that, you are trapped into becoming some kind of self. And you must be careful of that. So it's the simple logic, in fact, the same ethics with technology. Being aware of the consequences of power so that the empowerment given by technology brings value to the self and not the contrary. And this is what I call ordinary ethics. It happens in the ordinary, in small but decisive actions, not the powerful laws of the economy or politics or history. Thinkers useful to this are, well, I'm sure you know Gandhi in India. Gandhi said, do not imagine fighting English occupation by better political philosophy or institutions. Just stop buying English goods. Stop using English as a language. Stop sending your children to English schools. Stop paying taxes to the English, and so on and so on. And they will leave India. Do small things that bring forward the world you want to create. And it's exactly the same one. Gandhi is not alone. I want to mention Ivan Illich and the American philosopher Henry David Thoreau. All of them help us elaborate an ethics of ordinary actions changing the world, reappropriating the skills. We need to reappropriate the skills that we delegate to institutions and decide by ourselves what we want to eat, what we want to wear, what we want to read, watch, and so on, and so on. This is in Illich in particular, reappropriate basic skills to be independent of the dominating powers. More in Thoreau is the logic of micro actions. And I suggest the following slogan: real power lies in the payment card, in the credit card, not in the vote on the election day. It is with the credit card, with the payment card, that you decide of the economy, which largely decides of politics and things and consequent things. The power lies, same idea, in the mouse click. If you click or not on a banner in the web, it makes all the difference. Not grandiose ideologies. Being aware of this power changes real, ordinary behavior, and this changes the evolution of technology. It has in the past, it will in the future, and this is what we have to reappropriate if we want to do some ethics. This action, micro action, small action, very often will be non-action. There is usually here a reference to Chinese philosophy, Taoist philosophy, and the notion of Wu Wei, non-action. Just do not buy something. You think cars are something terrible. Don't buy a car. Don't use a car. And there's something, it's real. It's an anecdote also. Something typical of that. Some people are against highways. There are now in the south of France, where I am from, protests against building a new highway. And you can see, I have seen, people driving on highways with a sticker on the car against the highway. It makes no sense, but it explains everything. People are against Facebook, but they have a Facebook account. You are against Facebook? I am against Facebook. I have no Facebook account. You can't oblige me to. And I assume if someone sends to me something that requires a Facebook account, I say I can't watch it. I have no Facebook account, and I will not have, and I can tell you why. You're against the way animals are being bred. Don't eat animals. Don't eat, or if you do, assume, accept the ethical consequences. No one can oblige you to eat this or that. You're against fast fashion. Don't buy fast fashion. You're against some TV shows. Don't watch them. It's like the highway. It's not because there is a highway that people drive on the highway. It is because people drive on the highway that there is a highway. If there is a highway and no one on it, there will be no highways. It's not because there is this kind of show on the TV that people watch it. It is because people watch it that there is this kind of show on TV. So there is a way to change it. Just don't watch it. Don't eat it. Don't buy new shoes. You're against how shoes are made in China or Vietnam or Pakistan and things like that. Okay, so don't buy shoes when you already have acceptable shoes. And this is one of my favorite examples. How many shoes do people have? Usually people have 2 feet only. So 2 shoes are necessary, I agree. Maybe you need different shoes for different activities. I can understand that. But not maybe 20, 30, 40 or more. If you buy shoes because you can buy shoes, then you will buy the new smartphone because you can afford it, and a large car, and take a plane and things like that. And people doing this cannot protest against climate crisis or economic injustice or things like that because they are the system. They are not victims of the system, they are the system. And macroethics, always possible, means changing the ordinary micro action that will directly change the reality in the technosphere. If people do not buy a new smartphone every year, there will not be the kind of industry which is currently terrible for the environment. So there is a real ethical choice to decide when buy a new laptop, a new smartphone, car or not, and so on. Exactly as there is an ethical choice about what to eat, what to buy. And here lies the real power in industrialized country.